Texas and Alabama is by far the biggest game of the weekend. I think there's sort of a narrative here. Like, first of all, it's like I watched Texas and play beat Rice on Saturday, and I kind of left that game thinking Texas really didn't go all in for that game. They didn't need to show everything to beat Rice. I think we're going to see a much different Texas team this weekend. That means Quinn Ewers is going to have to be locked in. That means the deep passes to Xavier Worthy are going to have to land. That means the offensive line for Texas is going to have to take a step forward. This is a quarterback and line of scrimmage game for me. Like, I want to see Alabama's offensive line bully ball. Jalen Milroe looked pretty good in week 1. I want to see the bully ball for Alabama take on a good Texas front. I want to see how Texas and that offensive line protects Quinn Ewers. The narrative here is Texas back. Is the dynasty over in Tuscaloosa? Like, this is a huge measuring stick game for both teams in week 2. I think both left something on the table in week 1. So I think we're going to see some different stuff in week 2. And I'm fascinated to see where this game goes.
How do you feel about I think he was 19 of 30, so 11 incompletions. How do you feel like Texas maybe, again, 37-10 looks fine, but they didn't look like they were on all cylinders. They could have been playing with a vanilla, playbook to not show anything, like you said. How do you feel like I think that actually could help Texas to some degree? Like the fact that they didn't play as well as they maybe wanted to, and that Alabama played probably as well as they wanted to. Again, all 3 quarterbacks for Alabama were in the game. All 3 led scoring drives, but Jalen Milroe did something that nobody's ever done in Alabama history, which is 3 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing, over 11 yards per attempt for Jalen Milroe. Pretty good, even if it's against air, much less another football team. How do you feel like their performance in week 1 affects the psyche going into this game? And then you can also package that with, remember, this was 17 penalties for Alabama last year, one of the sloppiest games they've ever played in Nick Saban history. Ewers didn't finish the game, but was very good early. Bryce Young had to save them. There's a lot of mental gymnastics happening, I feel like, in this matchup going into the game.
Don't you think Sarkisian really wants this game? Like, he's going back to Tuscaloosa. It's sort of like the student
more than any other game.
Right. Well, I mean, I think, it's a huge, like I said, it's a measuring stick game for Texas.
Yeah.
Obviously they're coming into the SEC, but this is a chance for Texas to say, hey, we are back. We're going to go on the road and we're going to win this game. We have been building for this moment for the last couple of years. We had to go through 5-7 and 8-5 to get there. I will say that I think Texas can play a lot cleaner just overall. And I think Rice being the first week opponent, they didn't need to go out and unveil everything. We saw in last year's game, Quinn Ewers was really sharp until he got injured in that matchup. And of course, Alabama won that game because of the play of Bryce Young. I thought, that was one of his, many masterful performances in Tuscaloosa. So I think it'll be the setup for this game is just fascinating. Just to see Alabama's, the overall operation now with a week under its belt, tougher matchup. What are they going to show under Tommy Rees? And then for Texas, just seeing how, hey, they took care of business in week 1. Now let's get Texas in a high-profile matchup to see how everything translates offense, defense in a high-profile matchup.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, I know this is cliche, but I think line of scrimmage is the key here. If Ewers has time to throw, then we saw what he could do last year with Worthy and some of those guys, and we know Sark, how creative he can be in getting guys open. But that offensive line is still, while very, very talented, still very young. I think the more interesting side of things is the other side. Maybe not more interesting, but equally as interesting on the other side. If you see Alabama used all its different backs last week, they didn't give one guy, 25 carries. McClellan and Williams were the starters, basically got the reps. But if they're picking up, because that Texas defensive front is very talented, if Alabama is able to, in the first couple of drives, if you are seeing linebackers making tackles on running backs consistently, 4, 5, 6 yards downfield, it's going to be a very long day for Texas. If they are able to stop the running game, hold the line, and force Milroe to throw the football, I think you've got an opportunity to pull an upset. I really don't know what to. I know you were kind of I don't know what to make of LSU Florida State, and I felt pretty good about Florida State, by the way. Feel pretty good about it now too.
Good call.
But you eventually came around on that one with me. I actually think this one is tougher to predict because I don't think we saw what they're going to be in week one necessarily. I think this is a really difficult game. Like I guess I would take the 7.5 with Texas, but my instinct is also to say Bama dominates, but that's also based on what we saw in week one. So this is a really, really tricky matchup here. And again, who if Worthy can find some space and make some things happen down the field, then I think that could be dangerous territory for Alabama. But again, the entire offseason, this is about what is Alabama and what is Texas. We don't exactly think we kind of know what they both could be. You know, I had Texas win in the Big 12 and I had Alabama win in the West. We're going to find out a lot about both of them this weekend, and I can't wait. It should be a fantastic matchup. So line of scrimmage, trench warfare, quarterbacks, questions, head coaching, history, like it's all there, man. It's all there, and it's prime time on Saturday night. So the real prime time. Can't wait on Saturday night for that one.